deep in the furnace of a dying star. Eons of fusion have created iron, and as the nuclear furnace is cooled, a sudden and violent explosion spread the iron across the cosmos. Over the next few billion years, these heavier elements accreted into this place that we call the Earth. Time passes, and humans discover this iron deep in the Earth and discover its mystical properties. They discover ways of forging this iron and create one of mankind's greatest inventions, the truck stop knife. This is where the story of iron ends, and my story begins. This is JJJinks Truck Stop Knives! JJJinks Truck Stop Knives! So, in this video, we're going to mix things up a bit, because as much as I'd like to, I can't be all knives all the time. So, I was digging through some stuff recently, and because I might be moving soon, and I discovered a bag of action figures from my childhood, and I thought I would share them. So the 90's were a really great time, and when I say that, I mean in terms of like toys. We had some great toys from the 90's. Man, we used to have squirt guns that would get you shot by a cop in no time. But one of my favorite things from the 90's were the action figures. We had action figures for everything. He-Man was created after the action figures were made, okay? That might have been 80's. But anyway, specifically what I'm going to be talking about are Kenner Alien vs. Predator action figures. These are based on not the movie AVP, not the video game. This is before all of that. This was based on the Dark Horse comic series. And I got a whole bag of action figures from my childhood that I'm going to share with you now. And these action figures are great. So there's this guy who's just kind of your classic Predator. He's got the shoulder cannon, the fucked up face, some spotting on his chest. And I remember this came with a 2-pack. It was like this guy and like a generic alien. And I got all the accessories somewhere, but the figures are pretty great just on their own. Now, I got another Predator. I got a bunch of Predators. This one, I believe, is called Spike Tail, for obvious reasons. And I believe there's like a way that he articulates or something. He had some kind of a strange weapon that he held in this gauntlet thing. And yeah, that's right. You can like spring him into action. Oh, I am Spike Tail. What's next in the bag? I got a couple here. Oh, got a few here. I don't remember what this guy was called. He's kind of a blue Predator with some spiky claws here. Pretty much all of them have the signature shoulder cannon. I really don't know anything about this one. So I just can't remember. I was fucking like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old when I got these. But I knew enough that I wanted to keep them. So, Mr. Blue, I guess. I remember this one. This one was called the Scavenge Predator. And by the way, they each came with masks. And like I said, I got all the accessories elsewhere. I'll find them eventually. So somewhere, all these Predators have like the signature Predator mask. And I remember this guy had like a weapon that like went around his waist or something. I don't really remember. He's got some pretty killer dreadlocks though. Check that out. That's some Bob Marley shit. Right next to the little radiator. And he's got this spiky arm thing, and yeah, that's the scavenge. I don't know how I remember that. And then there's this guy who is actually glow in the dark. Didn't age very well. He's kind of yellowing, especially in the legs. But if you expose him to light for a while, then he will glow in the dark. And as a decoration, he's got this alien tail he wraps around his arm. Or she. They never really talk about predator genders. And I remember the weapon that he has, because his arm is kind of articulated in this crooked fashion. It was like a rocket launcher. And in the back, he also had some kind of a spring-loaded... No, not really a spring-loaded thing, actually. It was just sort of... That's where he stored a spare rocket. Because back in the 90s, fuck eyesight, right? Alright. Oh, what do we have next? Some of these I don't... Gosh, I just don't remember. It's been a long time. Oh, yeah, I just got another one of these. So, a duplicate. And then there's this invisible predator, which is kind of the same guy, except as this one, except in clear plastic. So this was like, I guess, and he's got like a chest armor piece that comes off, which renders him non-invisible. Kenner, what were you thinking? But from what I have read, this is kind of a rarer piece. So I have one. Hold on. You gotta rip the bag open a little bit. Oh, I remember this one. Okay. Hold on. Sorry, it's in like a plastic bag. This guy was called... Well, I don't really remember what it's called. But I think he was one of the first Predator action figures that I bought. And I liked him because he had this like really pronounced cybernetic spike arm. And on his shoulder, he has an articulated cannon that fires a projectile, so it's like spring-loaded. Oh, I remember what he was called. He's called Crack Tusk, because one of his tusks are like cracked. So he's sort of like an elder predator. Pretty badass. Alright, what do we got in here? Well, now we're sort of getting into the aliens, but I wanted to finish off the predators. Apparently I have 2 cracked tusk predators. So, some of these are duplicates because my little brother also got a lot of these. And then he didn't care about them after a while. Or, not that he didn't care, he was just kind of like, I'm older now. And I'm like, well, mentally I'm not, so I kept them. Now here's one of the things that Kenner started doing later on was reproducing the same old shit, just with different color plastic. So this is a reskinned version of one of the earlier Predators I showed you. And they gave it a different name, and it's like, I know what you're doing, but I can't stop collecting them. What do we got here? Damn. All in plastic. Oh, sorry. Apparently, I have another one of these, minus the chest armor. I don't even, like, I haven't opened this bag in, like, a decade or more, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm opening. This is an accessory to the scavenge guy. I guess this is the reskinned scavenge, and this pincer thing would fit around his waist, and then there were 2 things that would fire at the same time when you push this button. So, well, that's what I pulled out of the bag. Running low on predators. I'm getting down to the accessories too. Apparently, this just another one of these guys. Another one of these guys. These are probably mine and my brother's that I've been holding on to all these years. But fuck it. Let's get into the aliens, shall we? Because that's where the action figures really get interesting. So this alien is called the Gorilla. This was actually the very first one that I ever bought. And he's got these little spiky things on the back that you can squeeze, and his arms open and close to, like, you know, squeeze Space Marines, because that's what gorillas do. And his head is this squeezy plastic, and you're supposed to, like, fill it with water, and then it can spit acid. So that's the gorilla alien. This is one of my favorites right here. This is the panther alien. And I just kind of like how sleek it is. And it's got this articulated head. And I like the coloration. It's kind of a gold and light blue color. Everything kind of moves, because in the 90s, everything moves. It's like Transformers made the rule. But one of the accessories was you could stick a little alien face hugger, not really a face hugger, just like a projectile behind its neck, so that when you did this, it would shoot out. So that's one of my favorites. I believe this one was called the crab alien, or no, scorpion, because you can pull its tail out. I'm surprised it still works. And then there's this little lever here where you're supposed to, like, rope this around the ankle of an unsuspecting colonial marine, and then you use this lever and it should shoot back in. Should. There it goes. And then it can, like, open its legs and grab you, and then it's all over. What's that? Another spike tail. Yeah, I should have put the accessories together with these predators. Here's an example of a predator mask. I don't even remember which one this goes on to, but I'm kind of digging down into the pile of accessories in my bag now. Huh, a third one of these. Holy crap, I don't even know who owned that. Now here's another example. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, it's kind of similar to the panther alien. There's a bunch of pubes on it, where you pull the legs out and something actuates, but it's a bunch of spikes. Now remember, I remember that this was a part of, like, the Generation 2 version of these figures, and so I was actually pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just a reskinned alien. They actually came up with original stuff, and these, like, cool mohawk spike things that would come up. This thing is pretty fucking rad. That's one of my favorite aliens. The rest of these are just masks and stuff. Oh, I got another alien. Hold on. Yeah. Oh my god. I put it in a plastic bag, so it's like tearing the bag. This is the Alien Queen. And it's got the projectile mouth, which has an air bladder behind it, so you can, like, shoot it out. It's kind of lost its function. I got another one that's missing the crown. But it's got, like, 4 arms, and then 2 little T-Rex arms in the front here. And there's this little thingy that sticks out from its leg that lets you whip to destroy the colonial scum. And finally, well, actually, I have another alien. It was called the Scorpion alien, I think, from the first generation, or whatever, of Kenner. Which was basically an exploding alien. And it's all in pieces in my bag. That's staying in. And I don't feel like putting it together because the spring is worn and I can't keep it together. But I think in the second generation of these figures, Kenner came out with the Flying Queen alien, which was the most badass alien ever. And I fucking got one. And here she is. and she's got this little button thing on the back that lets you, like some kind of unholy demonic vulture. And then her feet have this ability to like grasp things, grasp like humans and tear their flesh. And it's a flying queen. How awesome is that? Now, I haven't watched all the Alien vs. Predator movies. I actually don't like any of them, even though I only saw the first one. Fuck me, right? But if they put the flying queen into one of them and it looks exactly like this with the blood vessels up in the crest for no fucking reason, I would watch that shit. But no, you gotta be dumb and unoriginal. And it's got the articulated T-Rex arms as well. Oh my goodness. Now I just have a pile of accessories and stuff. And a very random Sinestro Marvel, what were these called? Hero Clicks. Because it's just in the bag with the other stuff. And you can see Sinestro inside of the construct. That's pretty cool. Hero Clicks, I mean, that's a whole thing I've never even gotten into. I mean, I've been into it. I just never talked about it on video. It's like tabletop, dice rolling, you know, anything but snake eyes and you win. Again, fuck me, right? This has been JJJinks Truck Stop Action Figures!